In 1986, a lake in Cameroon killed 1,746 people while they slept. No wounds, no screams, just silence. This is the story of Lake Nyos, a beautiful lake on top of a volcano, a silent killer that no one saw coming, and a warning that most of the world ignored. Lake Nyos sits in a volcanic crater in northwest Cameroon. It looks like a postcard. Tourists used to swim there. Locals fished in its waters. Children played on its shores. But deep below the surface, something deadly was building up. Something no one could see, smell, or feel. The lake is on top of a magma chamber. Deep underground, molten rock releases gases. One of those gases is carbon dioxide. For centuries, that CO2 dissolved into the water at the bottom of the lake. The pressure of the deep water kept it trapped, like a bottle of soda waiting to explode. Scientists call this a limnic eruption. A lake overturns, and the gas comes rushing out. Before 1986, almost no one had ever heard of it. On August 21, 1986, something triggered the lake. Scientists still aren't sure what. Maybe a landslide from the crater walls. Maybe cool rain on the surface of the water. Maybe a small earthquake deep below. Whatever it was, it broke the balance. The water overturned. In the span of a few minutes, 1.6 million tons of carbon dioxide shot out of the lake. The gas cloud was invisible. It was odorless. It was heavier than air, and it rolled down the valleys at 50 miles per hour. Think about that for a second. An invisible wall of gas moving at highway speed with no warning, no sound, no smell. The gas swept through villages within a 15-mile radius. People were in their beds. It was late at night, August 21st, around 9:30 p.m. They never woke up. Carbon dioxide doesn't burn your lungs. It doesn't sting your eyes. It doesn't make you cough. It just replaces the oxygen in the air. You fall asleep. You don't wake up. It's one of the most peaceful ways to die. And that's what makes it so terrifying. Livestock fell where they stood. Cows, goats, chickens, birds dropped from trees mid-flight. Insects died on the ground. Within minutes, everything that breathed was gone. By morning, the silence was total. The first survivor to walk into the zone was a man named Joseph Nanquine. He lived in the village of Nyos, one of the hardest hit. He had been away that night. When he returned, he found his entire family dead. His neighbors dead. Everyone. He later described the silence as the worst part of his life. No dogs barking, no roosters crowing, no children crying, just bodies everywhere. Another survivor was a young girl found unconscious on the floor of her hut. Rescuers thought she was dead, but 3 days later, she woke up. Her entire family was dead around her. She had been lying next to her mother's body for 72 hours. She never learned what happened until scientists arrived weeks later. In total, 1,746 people died, more than 3,000 livestock. The Cameroonian government had no idea what happened. Initially, they blamed terrorists. Some villagers thought it was an act of God. Others thought a weapons test had gone wrong. No one understood. The first scientists to arrive were from the US Geological Survey, along with French volcanologists. They had heard reports of a lake that had exploded. They didn't believe it at first. Lakes don't explode. But when they lowered sensors into Lake Nyos, the reading was off the charts. The deep water was still saturated with carbon dioxide. The lake had released only part of its gas. The rest was still there. It could happen again. Worse, they found another lake nearby, Lake Monoun, about 60 miles away. In 1984, 2 years before Nyos, Lake Monoun had killed 37 people. Same cause, same invisible gas, same silent death. No one had connected the two events until after Nyos. The 37 deaths in 1984 were written off as a mysterious incident. Villagers reported a strange smell. Some said they heard a rumbling sound, but no one investigated. If they had, maybe the 1,746 lives at Nyos could have been saved. For years after the disaster, nothing was done. The villages around Lake Nyos were empty. Survivors refused to return. They had watched their families die. They had buried their neighbors. They had no desire to go back. But scientists warned that the lake was recharging. The CO2 was building up again at the bottom. It was only a matter of time before another eruption, and this time, they would have no warning. Finally, in 2001, an international team installed a degassing pipe. The pipe works like a giant straw. It pumps water from the bottom of the lake to the top. As the water rises, the pressure drops and the CO2 fizzes out, safely, slowly, like opening a soda bottle. The pipe runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It sounds like a giant water fountain. Locals call it the dragon's breath. In its first year alone, the pipe released enough carbon dioxide to kill 10,000 people. But instead, it just bubbles harmlessly into the air. Today, more than 20 years later, the pipe still runs. It has been maintained by international teams. But scientists have warned that it's a temporary solution. The pipe requires maintenance, it requires funding. And if the funding stops, the pipe stops. If the pipe stops, the lake will recharge in 10 to 20 years. The CO2 will build up again, and the next eruption will be just as deadly as the one in 1986. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. Lake Nyos is not the only one. There are 3 other lakes in the region with the same problem. Lake Nyos, which already killed 37 people in 1984, Lake Kivu, which is much larger, and 2 others that scientists are still studying. Lake Kivu is the real nightmare. It sits on the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Millions of people live along its shores. 2 million, maybe more. And Lake Kivu contains 300 times more CO2 than Lake Nyos did. 300 times. If Lake Kivu ever erupted, it would not kill 1,700 people. It would kill hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. The gas cloud would cover entire cities. There would be no warning, no evacuation, no escape. Scientists have installed degassing pipes on Lake Kivu too. But the scale is enormous. The cost is enormous. And the political situation in the region makes maintenance difficult. The survivors of Lake Nyos scattered after the disaster. Some moved to the capital, Yaoundé, hundreds of miles away. Some live in refugee camps. Most never return to their villages. The villages themselves are still there, empty, overgrown. The jungle is taking them back. A memorial stands near the lake with the names of the dead carved into stone. Every year on August 21st, survivors and their children gather at the memorial. They light candles, they remember the silence, they listen to the pipe running in the distance, the dragon's breath, keeping them alive, one bubble at a time. Lake Nyos still kills, just slower now. The pipe is a reminder that nature doesn't care about our plans. It doesn't care about our borders or our politics. It just waits. And somewhere deep below Lake Kivu, the same pressure is building. The lake that killed a village. These aren't stories, they're documented. And somewhere right now, the next one is happening. Subscribe for more dark facts.